The World Bank estimates that 1.4 billion people worldwide are unbanked. That's almost 20% of the population without access to financial services. By leveraging digital technologies, fintech solutions are seen as a way to provide a sustainable means for unbanked and underserved populations to take part in the global economy. Joining us now to discuss is Rick Martin. He's the co-founder of Decaf, a portal to the decentralized economy. Rick, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So perhaps you can start off with how Decaf, the decentralized cafe, enters, yes, I like it. How does Decaf enter the picture in serving underserved communities? What problem does your company seek to solve?
Yeah, so I think you explained it really well. It's decentralized, so we're a non-custodial wallet. Means it has no borders, and it's offering really good financial access, like a bank, but it actually lives on-chain. So people can have, all the services that you would get with, really good banking, but it's accessible to anyone.
I saw this awesome story on the on-chain effect where your company, Decaf, was featured with your friend, Zach.
Yes.
Can you please tell us a bit about this story? This is an incredible story.
Yeah, absolutely. So a really quick version. He was doing some investments in Colombia. He had a lot of problems with getting money in because of capital controls and banking issues. He couldn't do his investments and he couldn't pay his employees. So what he would do is he'd get cash from Medellin, which is a city there. He'd drive it 3 hours up into the mountains and he'd pay all of his employees in cash, and
he's carrying wads of cash
exactly
monthly for
around 100 employees.
Yeah.
And once he was doing that, he got shot. And
just robbed, you mean?
Yeah, robbed.
No, he got shot and hospitalized, and they said he was dead.
Yeah, I watched this video. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Telling, yeah.
He even had like an afterlife experience and everything. So, it was because of the danger of holding cash, and also it was actually outside of the bank itself, and so he obviously, he literally was dead for a little bit, and then he was revived, fortunately, but. The natural sort of reaction after that is like, well, what do I do? Do I continue, or do I just leave it all, pack it up, and just go, no, this is impossible. I can't do anything because of payments. And fortunately, he happened to know me, and I said, well, hey, there's this new technology with Stellar where you can actually hold your dollars in a non-custodial wallet, and you could pay all your employees, and they can all cash out in really remote areas, because MoneyGram has this partnership with Stellar. And MoneyGram's everywhere. It's like 180 plus countries and 350,000 locations. And so it's in really remote areas. So what ended up happening was, he could continue his investments, but then also all of his employees were able to hold dollars. They were able to protect themselves from inflation, devaluation. At first, they were all cashing out immediately because, you have to have a little bit of time to build trust. But then eventually they started understanding, now I can hold it in dollars. I'll do it and wait for a favorable exchange rate. And then they started trading even with each other with the USDC on chain. So they just started selling bills in the actual wallet.
So in these small communities, they're not paying people with local pesos. They're actually paying each other with USDC, with stablecoins.
And this is something we didn't expect either.
Wow.
So it starts like that trust building exercise with these ramps, and then it becomes an on-chain economy. It's like the on-chain effect, like they say.
Wow.
How do you manage security in those situations? I think these are people who are not used to having to have robust security systems.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'd say holding cash and being shot is probably a really big one, and also not having a job because maybe an employer cannot find a way to, that's security.
Of course, yeah.
And we're seeing, the opportunity from having just even opportunities to work is allowing people to send kids to university and saying, hey, you can study whatever you want, and we can pay for the university, or they are able to go buy, more things in the local town, like food on the weekends, and we're seeing more local economic activity in that town after the times that we keep visiting, and, there's 3 new businesses there now. And so when it comes to security, we need to look at it as ramps, and also, being on chain and making it sort of extracted away as well. So, you have to balance that technology, security, and just ease of use. And, I guess in one sense they were forced because it's part of the opportunity, but then over the time they started trusting it, they see how it works, and then they see all the benefits that it brings to them.
So you're seeing the tools develop as people's needs develop, as opposed to trying to force it down their throat when they don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people are they're so happy, to start with the opportunity, getting those opportunities, and they are using blockchain and how it should be used, well, theoretically for payments, but there's been no sort of issues with the security side of things, and it's just like a beautiful sort of thing to see people using it because there's a real need.
Well, what about the education aspect of it? Was it relatively intuitive for people to use a wallet to, send and, I don't know, do they have to keep passwords or private keys or something like that?
Yeah, so I guess that's the thing about Decaf. We extracted away all the blockchain stuff. It is a non-custodial wallet, so you sign in with your email. You still have your keys, but they're locked up. We don't have gas fees, things like that. That's why we use chains like Stellar and Solana, because it's just super cheap and fast, and we have no gas fees. So it just looks like a banking app. Okay. It looks like maybe a Nubank or a Revolut or a Wise or a Cash App, but it's running completely on blockchain, and it's non-custodial. So yeah, we have to extract all the blockchain-ness away and just make it really easy.
Okay.
There are a number of folks here. We had Alex from MoneyGram earlier talking with us, who are developing wallets. And so what this reminds me a little bit is from last year when Adam Mosseri, who runs Threads, was trying to, came out and said, we're running Threads on the decentralized protocol. And for him, he said, we want to be on decentralized services, but we just want to be the best at building the app, right? And that's why they'll come to us versus someone else. Is that the way that, in this sort of coming wallet wars, that it's really going to be about services and how you can sort of make it easy to use? What's the way to win in this emerging wallet ecosystem?
Yes, I think that's a relevant question. So I would have probably a different view. I think this notion of co-design, which means getting the end user to be a part of the actual design process, actually being fundamental to winning this race or making the ultimate product for anyone to use to bring on that next billion. So we are involved. We're talking to them. We know the users. We not just in this community, but all these other sort of areas where maybe they don't even have a bank account, but they use crypto wallets. So how do we make it easy for them? Well, you talk to them. You just work with them. You get them to be a part of that actual process of building the product.
In terms of getting them onboarded, are there barriers in terms of you have to have a smartphone, you need good Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so I mean, internet is getting better and better, and especially with the satellite internet now with Musk and everything like that. So we do need internet, but we're finding, you can get money wherever there's internet, and that's like the beauty of it. So can we make money travel like data on the internet? And the answer is yes, we're getting close.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that when you look at what countries you want to open up or what you're in, like tell us more about the geographies right now for people who are using Decaf, but also where are you targeting in the future?
Yeah, so right now we are focused on Latin America, but we are seeing organic users in Africa. We're seeing across areas of Southeast Asia. We're seeing in the Middle East, and we're actually starting to work with humanitarian aid organizations. This came up organically. We never expected or dreamed about this, but it's we recently saw someone's life just get saved in the Middle East, and this could not have been done with any other technology. I think that's the most important.
I feel like you have to tell us.
Yeah, you have to tell that story.
Yeah. So I can't say too much about the details, but essentially, in the Middle East, there's Afghanistan at the moment. There is some people who are in trouble, and there's a lot of need for humanitarian aid to save people's lives. People are at the risk of dying, and they need money. And traditional systems of getting money to these regions may have taken days, and then it fails, and then it will take days to get back. But not only if it did work, it would be like 20% fees because it's such a liquid market, and it'd be so difficult to know. And when you're talking about someone who may be escaping or really needs money quickly, this is a matter of life and death. And so when you look at something like the solution with MoneyGram and Decaf Wallet, we can get money to someone living in a cave in Afghanistan within 2 minutes, and this is impossible with any other technology before. So the gain of solving that problem is not just like 1 or 20% or 30%. It's like an order of magnitude better.
So you can send money to, I guess, to their email address, and they can take it out in a MoneyGram in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this, what we saw, actually meant, a close, like life or death. It can be speed and fees and security it really matters. Money is so important, especially when your life is on the line.
Do you see, as this all develops, is this an education of the idea that money is data, or is this an education really of the fact that there's just a changing paradigm in which we have to stop valuing the physicality and really rewarding the speed and the sort of digital nature of money?
Yeah, I think all of those things, but what we really sort of see at the end of the day is where there's a real problem, people will try and solve it. And if the technology is really valuable, you'll see the value come out of those situations. There's innovators all around the world, and these things happen organically. But we really start by solving a real problem.
So what was your origin story? What got you into building Decaf?
That's a good one. Long story short, I got stuck in Colombia during the pandemic and saw how broken a financial system is. I was living with Venezuelans as well, even more broken for them. And I was working in technology and just going, well, why am I working in an unrelated space? I should be using this technology, which I'm so interested in, blockchain, to actually build a new payment system because it's so broken here. Why has not this been done? And I got really passionate about it, and one thing led to another. I met my co-founders, and we just decided, well, let's build a bank, essentially, that's global and really focus on solving these payment challenges for Latin America.
Do you have a sense of, how many people are using your product and interacting with crypto?
Yeah, so I think this is the early days, and we are organically growing. We haven't done a single bit of marketing. At the moment, it's about 30,000 users. We see a lot of volume in Colombia, in the places that the systems are most broken. And for that, Colombia seems to be right now the winner. But in broken systems, not the prize we really want. But but we see a real need starting to evolve in lots of different places. Once the word gets out, they tell their friends, and we really see that this can be something that provides opportunities to those who may not have it. So, for example, I could be in a rural area of Colombia and have the same access to quality financial services as, say, someone who's a hedge fund manager on Wall Street. This is what we believe, and we think this really levels the playing field, and it needs to get out there.
What challenges are you facing? I could imagine in certain governments, they may not want you to be using crypto. They want you to use their money, and they have capital controls on the country. Could that possibly be a challenge?
Yeah, you maybe get me in trouble, but that's true. I mean, this is the people that we tend to deal with are the ones that are really suffering from things that maybe government and banks systems have failed them. For example, I could go on about like Nigeria. We have a lot of users and demand over there. And Colombia. Obviously Venezuela, and it more popping up like Ecuador at the moment. We see. Because it's always, when there's payment systems involved, it has to have some involvement with, currencies, governments, banks. And the ones that are most broken are the ones that need this the most.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that you're going to see adoption happen again based on need? Or do you think, like, when you look at the next 3 years of your company, is it because you're meeting investors and developers and you're actually able to push it out forward? How do you grow from here?
Yeah, I think when people say, oh, is it just those in need? They just think, oh, okay, Latin America. But actually what people don't realize is that 1/5 of the US is Latin American, and that they're often sending money back to family or to and from, and what's going on there. So it's a very global world, and it is the US and these major markets. Like, for example, in the UK, it's often going to Africa, a lot of like remittance flows. So it's global. It's a global problem, and in terms of adoption, I think people can be underbanked or unbanked for various reasons. So, for example, you may not have a bank account because there's a banking desert and there's no banks around for you to be banked. Or you could be someone who's maybe a Bitcoin miner in Paraguay who just doesn't have an ability to get the banking services. Or you could just be a traveler, a tourist, and you need to be offered certain better services. So there are many reasons why people fall to an underbanked status. And crypto really solves the problems.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I guess, in terms of other wallet, I mean, Revolut is one that comes to mind. How are you, I suppose, competing with the other competitors out there?
That's a great question. I think Revolut is a great example of what we would do in being on chain. The short answer is being on chain means you're truly global and you're accessing even the markets that Revolut cannot serve and will never serve. The other thing is that Revolut slept on Latin America, and then the biggest bank biggest fintech ever emerged out of Brazil called Nubank. And now Revolut's trying to come to these markets, realizing just how much of a big opportunity there is. So this is just, they never could have dreamt that Latin America could be so big. And it is, because the need's so big.
What's the 5-year plan for Decaf? Where do you see the company headed?
I think we start with the biggest problems first. Things like these humanitarian aid challenges, those who need these banking services, remittances, anything that is cross-border, anything that is truly global. That's where we start. We see money and banking services that runs on chain, which just means, for me, without borders.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, Rick. Thank you so much. Folks, you got to watch that video, The On-Chain Effect with Decaf, on YouTube or on our Twitter. All right, that was Decaf co-founder Rick Martin. Up next, we're going to have a look at Markets Daily, and there may be something about Idris Elba's creator panel. We'll have that coming up.